Hi everyone, welcome to the Oracle sessions, and for these sessions I'm using Raise Your Vibration with Carl Gray, who's a British born spiritualist, medium, has 8 books out and does a lot of workshops. I think he was at the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival that I went to in November in Birmingham, UK. So let's pull a card. Ooh. Forgiveness brings freedom. Now that's a tricky one, isn't it? Okay, so forgiveness brings freedom. Forgiveness, as soon as we hear or read this word, particular situations will come flooding into our hearts and mind. Often we resist forgiveness because we feel that certain decisions or actions are unacceptable behaviour, and that if we forgive this, we're letting it slip by and letting others get away with it. Forgiving doesn't mean accepting the unacceptable. I mean, that's usually about boundaries, but we're releasing that hold onto what isn't serving your healing anymore. It's about realising that if you knew then what you know now, of course, we might have chose a different path, but you wouldn't have known unless what happened had happened. We live and learn. Forgiveness is about letting go of a story of the past so that you can be free of it in the present. It's about letting go of the weight of someone else's bad choices so that they can't affect your current happiness. The universe wants you to know that forgiveness is an organic process. The path will unfold before you, and you have to be willing to walk it. The vibe of the day is I'm willing to forgive and to be forgiven. I've had this conversation over the years, and I think there are some circumstances where remaining angry has a purpose. Sometimes the anger can protect you from the person that you've spent time with. So I worked with a lot of women who'd been in domestic abuse situations, and remaining angry and keeping boundaries up can sometimes be the difference between life or death. Or at least not having more conflicts and challenges. And while you're angry, you can also start to decide what boundaries and actions you need to deploy. Because when the anger starts to drift, as in particular in those relationships, there's a possibility that you can allow people back in when you're in that more generous, open state, especially if you haven't put the boundaries in and decided what is okay and not okay for you anymore. And so I think this really is an individual focus of what forgiveness means. And yes, forgiveness brings freedom, but really need to be working on what stage of the journey am I at, and not all emotions that you feel right now aren't the right emotions to feel. Even if they don't feel good, they serve a purpose and they can be protecting you in the long term. But the vibe of the day is I'm willing to forgive and be forgiven.